Hey, Langston Belton here from Earth's Mightiest Show. Do you need a refresher before you gear up for Season 2 of Marvel's The Punisher? Well, we have you covered with an ASAP recap of Marvel's The Punisher Season 1 in 3, 2, 1. It's been 6 months since Frank Castle killed the gang that murdered his family. He now works construction, but when his new co-workers rob a local gang, the whole thing turns upside down.
Bag the cash!
That is until Frank Castle steps in. Meanwhile, Homeland Security agent Dina Madani is investigating Frank's old military unit, the sinister-sounding Cerberus, in an effort to figure out who killed her partner. Madani's investigation eventually leads to Castle's old teammate, Billy Russo, who is now the head of the villainously named private security force, Anvil. But Madani is on the right track. The same person who sent her footage of her partner's death, Micro, leaves the same footage with Frank. On the tape, it is clearly Frank and his fellow Cerberus operatives killing Madani's partner. In an effort to figure out who Micro is, Frank turns to Karen Page. She's good. She figures out that Micro is really ex-NSA analyst David Lieberman. Frank confronts Micro and both men agree to team up to take down Frank's former unit, Cerberus. Needing gear, Frank uses Micro's intel to crash an FBI weapons sting, but he also crashes into Madani. Now geared up, the Punisher and Micro deduce that his old military bud, Gunner, filmed that Cerberus murder video, so they pay a visit to their old friend.
Okay, I want names, and I'll let you be.
But so do Russo's Anvil soldiers, and Gunner is gunned down. Frank's hurt too, and looking for help, so he calls on one of his closest friends, Corpsman Curtis Hoyle. Curtis has been working with fellow vets that have been through tough times, like Lewis Wilson, who's struggling to adjust to being back in the States. Meanwhile, Madani has gotten rather close to Billy Russo.
Why don't you put your pants on? You look kind of stupid right now.
Billy takes advantage of his proximity to Dina's files and reaches out old school style to Frank, asking to meet. He offers Frank a chance to join Anvil, but Frank ultimately decides against it. Frank has no idea that Russo is actually a major part of the Cerberus conspiracy. Turns out he's been working with Frank's former commander turned deputy CIA director, William Rawlins. Rawlins has been helping Russo do all kinds of bad stuff, including bugging Madani. Now seeing Russo and Rawlins are the real baddies, Castle and Lieberman have their next target in their takedown of Cerberus. But thanks to some bulletproof glass, Frank's attack goes sideways and he's forced to flee. But you all know there's no rest for the Punisher. He has to watch over Micro's family, which leads to a whole bunch of other problems.
Whoa, that was weird.
And speaking of problems, one of Hoyle's unstable veterans, Lewis Wilson, has spiraled and planted bombs all over the city. Castle sets to saving the city and his pal Hoyle, despite being blamed for the bombs by the police. Things escalate when Wilson targets an anti-gun senator who has hired Russo's company Anvil to protect him.
Mr. Russo.
This brings Madani, Russo, and Frank to the same hotel, but it is too late. For Wilson, at least. Meanwhile, Anvil's been busy kidnapping Lieberman's wife and son, but not his daughter. Castle finds her and meets up with Micro and Madani to hatch a plan, but with nothing to offer but himself, Frank gives himself over to Russo in exchange for Micro's family. Now that he's in the hands of Cerberus, Russo tries to get back the files stolen by Micro, but tensions rise between Russo and Rawlins. Frank gets free and he gives Rawlins an eye-opening lesson. Finally, Russo and Frank face off where it all started. The carousel where the Castle family was murdered. In the brutal fight, Frank is painfully roughed up, Madani gets shot, and Russo gets the worst face mask ever. But don't worry, Russo gets captured, Madani pulls through, and a Cerberus-free Punisher and Micro can finally begin to heal as they look for some semblance of a normal life. But can the Punisher ever rest? Find out in Marvel's The Punisher Seasons 1 and 2, now streaming only on Netflix.